Ready for me to hit you with a little bit more common knowledge? Let's see. Let's get into it. Click the wrong button. Knight of Valor. I really want to make an Orzhov Knights deck. Does this one go in it? We'll see. Knight of Valor is from Visions. It's 2 and a white for a 2/2 human knight creature with flanking. So whenever a creature without flanking blocks this creature, the blocking creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And it also has, for 1 and a white, each creature without flanking blocking this creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Activate this only once each turn. So you can kind of, you can double flank. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I think what I'd really like out of one of these cards, and I don't think they do it, and they probably don't do it for a very good reason. I'd really like to see one of these cards have first strike on them, like having flanking and first strike. So you're really making it tough for an opponent to block something like that. That you're putting them more on your level, and you're giving yourself the ability to get first strike. Getting first strike on this thing would be even radder. You put an ethereal armor on this thing, whew, you're going to town. But generally, you're not paying this much mana for this card, and it needs to do more. It needs to do more than what it has, and the way it can do more is if you have Knight synergies. So I'd consider this for a Knight Pauper deck, but overall, it's too expensive, and it just becomes a mana sink. You don't want to keep putting 2 mana into this play. But like holding up your mana and being able to use this as a threat that you could always threaten to double flank. Interesting. It's interesting. For the interesting part, I'll give it a 3. It's not a good card, but I'll give it a 3 based on just being interesting. Cryptid Inspector comes from Duskmourn House of Horror. I was at the pre-release for this. I don't remember this card at all. Let's see what it does. It's 2 and a green for a 2/3 elf warrior creature with vigilance, and whenever a face-down permanent you control enters, and whenever this creature or another permanent you control is turned face up, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Obviously, it goes in a very specific type of deck. I don't think I've ever seen a face-down deck in Pauper, a face-down tribal-y deck in Pauper. I don't think there are enough good cards that do it. It is cool that you could synergize this with morph creatures. There's also, I'm sure there are a handful of cards that cloak at common rarity, and I bet there's a handful that can manifest dread at common rarity as well. But I don't think you have enough of those cards to necessarily make this worth it. Again, the real problem is the cost. If this costs 2 mana, I'd say, you know what, maybe we try to find a deck for this. Maybe, not that this is exactly a build around. I don't think Vigilance is a good enough ability to make it a build around. But just imagine with me, theorycraft with me, that this was 1 and a green for a 2/3. No, 1 and a green for a 1/2. Let's go with that. Let's say it's 1 and a green for a 1/2 elf warrior with trample and that second line of text. We might be having a good conversation about that. But this is not good enough. It's a 3 point. It's bad. It's way better than that night. It's just not all that much better than that night. It's like a 3.3, maybe. That's too generous, but we'll give it that. Fiery Temper, here we go. This is a good card. I've never played this card, but I know it's a good card. Fiery Temper is 1 and double red for an instant. It says Fiery Temper deals 3 damage to any target. That's not very good, right? But It has Madness for 1 red. So if you discard this card, you discard it into exile, and when you do, you can cast it for its Madness costs, or you can put it in your graveyard. That rules. Mono Red Madness, Rakdos Madness. There's a handful of Madness decks in Pauper right now, and there's some of the best decks in the format. And this is one of the best cards in those decks. There's so many cards that cost 2 mana in red that allow you to discard a card to draw 2 cards. And that is what that is saying basically is I get to spend 1 card, discard this card, draw 2 cards, pay 1 extra mana. So now I'm paying 3 mana for a single card that allows me to draw 2 cards and deal 3 damage to anything. That's a good deal. That's such a good deal in Pauper that this makes Madness decks one of the best meta decks in the format. This is great. This is a really good card. I'll give this like a damn. What do you give this? It's at least an 8. Is it higher than that? Is this like an 8.5? I'll hedge my bets a little bit. I'll say this is an 8.3. This is a really good card. An incredibly good card. One of the best cards we've seen on this series so far. Really good. Really good. And now we got this. Lightning Core Excavator. It only costs 1 mana for a 0/3 artifact creature golem. I do love a good golem. It's from Jumpstart. Interesting. And you can pay 5, tap, and sack this creature to deal 3 damage to any target. It's like right on the cusp of playable. 1 mana for a 0/3. Like that's just kind of a decent. We play Hard Evidence in Pauper, which is a 1 mana sorcery that makes a 0/3 crab, but it also makes you a clue token. That card gets played all the time. This is 1 mana, and part of the nice thing with Hard Evidence is that it makes you a creature, but it also makes you that artifact. This is 1 mana for an artifact and a creature. That creature being a 0/3 with a bonus. Like, no, it can't draw you the card like the clue token could. And it also costs more to activate this ability. And when you activate this ability, the creature goes away. I'm seeing the problem now. But it's, if you squint, this is a worse. I was going to say slightly worse, but this is a worse Hard Evidence. But there's still something kind of there. It's okay. It's not good. There's just better 1 mana artifacts. If you're playing this specifically to put it in like an artifact deck, an affinity deck, you play other cards that can make tokens. That make artifact tokens that give you more artifacts. And give you 2 artifacts on turn 1 instead of just 1. I'll give it a 2.9. It's so close to a 3. I don't think it quite is though. Cavern Thoktar. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce that, from Shards of Alara. Is a 5/5 beast creature, and it's got a fire breathing, but it costs twice as much. It costs 1 and a red to have this creature get +1/+0 until end of turn. That's not very good. 6 mana for a 5/5. It doesn't even have trample. Like this needs trample to make the fire breathing part better, and it doesn't even have that. This isn't good. This isn't good. It's like a 1.6. Pretty bad. Pretty bad card. Reputable Merchant comes from Tarkir Dragonstorm. I remember playing this at the pre-release. Reputable merchant costs 2. Okay, this weird hybrid man. I forgot how you actually say this. It's 2 or a white, 2 or a black, 2 or a green. So you could pay 6 mana. It's a lot of combinations that you can pay for this card for, but it's those hybrid mana symbols. You can either pay 2 colorless or the 1 color for Abzan colors, white, black, and green. It's a 2/2 human citizen, and when this creature enters or dies, you put a 1/1 counter on a target creature you control. If you're paying 6 mana for it, it is cool. It is cool that you could just pay 6 colorless mana for this card. You don't have to be in any color to play this card. You should. You should be in at least 1, if not 2 or 3 of these colors. But if you are able to play the full color mana, if you are able to play Abzan, white, black, green, and pay that for this card, you get a halfway decent deal. When this creature enters or dies, you put a 1/1 counter on a target creature you control. You could put it on this, the entering one at least. So you could pay 3 mana for a 3/3. That's not great, but a 3 mana for a 3/3 that when it dies, you put a 1/1 counter on something else. So that's kind of 4 power for 3 mana. Also not great, but it's better. Being able to put those 1/1 counters on something else, though. So this is just a 2/2 to block something. More often than not, you'll play this as just the 2/2. You'll put the counter on something else, and then you'll have this be a chump blocker, and then it dies, and you put that 1/1 counter either on the same thing or another thing. It gives you a little bit more flexibility. It's not a good card, but you can kind of see how a modern bad card is different than an older bad card in many ways. So it's okay. It's okay. I played Abzan at the pre-release, and I think I played like 1 copy of this. It wasn't even in my colors, even in my clan. I was like, I don't think this quite makes the cut, and that's limited. This is Pauper. Pauper can be way better than limited sometimes. Well, certainly for the commons that you use, you're using better commons in Pauper. But I would say most Pauper decks would wipe the floor with the limited deck, regardless of the bomb rares that you might get in there. Anyway, I'm stalling because I don't know what to give this thing. Give it a 3.2. I can't remember if I marked down this one or not, so we might get a bonus card. Who knows? Next card here is a Hordling Outburst, which is 1 and double red for a sorcery that creates 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. So, this isn't... Let me show you a card. We'll come back to this one in a second, but we'll Kuldotha Rebirth. See how that's banned in Pauper? Kuldotha Rebirth is 1 red mana for a sorcery that says add an addition. You have to sacrifice an artifact, but you get to create 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. So it is very similar to this, but it costs a third of the price. You have to sacrifice something, but sometimes sacrificing an artifact or a creature is a good thing. Kuldotha Rebirth was a really good card, and it had to get banned in Pauper because it was too good. Hordling Outburst, for a very similar effect, it's not nearly good enough. Not nearly good enough. To the point that this is basically unplayable trash. Which you wouldn't think so. It's 3 mana for 3 1/1 bodies. That's a pretty good rate. But overall, it's just not nearly good enough. Like maybe if it was at instant speed, but even then, it's just a little too weak. It's just a little too weak. I'll give this like a 2.8. Yoshin Soldier. I love Yoshin Soldier. Like I said, I've said it many times before, I started playing in Mirrodin. So I remember seeing this guy and going, phew, look at that guy. He seems cool. 1/4, Vigilance. We didn't even have Vigilance back in that day. Not until Kamigawa did we get Vigilance as a keyword. Well, did we get Vigilance as a keyword, or did we get the card Vigilance that gave a creature the ability to ability that would be known as Vigilant. I think we actually just gave it the ability Vigilance. That did get keyworded at that point. Anyway, Mirrodin, we didn't have that. So just like, wow, paying 3 mana for a 1/4, like 4 toughness blocks basically anything. Anyway, also look at this art. Look at that. Look at this thing. The Ocean Soldier is so cool. It is. Just the idea of it is really cool. I love the art on this guy. There's also the Ocean Frontliner, where you get to see another take on that really nice art. Or really nice concept. I mean, the art is nice, but just the art direction of it. Anyway, we're talking about Ocean Soldier. I love this card a lot. I've got a white bordered retro frame or old frame cube, and Ocean Soldier is this Ocean Soldier. Yeah, this Ocean Soldier definitely goes in there, or is in there, and I love it to death. But it's just not good enough these days, is it? 1/4 Vigilance just doesn't. It's not impactful enough. You're not doing enough damage. Sure, it's blocks, but it's only blocking stuff on the ground. This, thinking back, this actually was a really good pick as a reprint for Mirrodin, like a set with a bunch of equipment. This is a great card to put a bunch of equipment on. And that would still be the case in Pauper. There are some pretty solid equipment in Pauper, but I just think there's enough other creatures that you wouldn't choose a Ocean Soldier. But man, do I love Ocean Soldier quite a bit. I'll give this a better score. It's like a it's like a 3. I want to give it better than a 3 so bad. I want to give this like a 5, but it's not. It's not. It just doesn't go into a Pauper deck for sure. Taunting Elf. Taunting Elf's interesting. I actually bought a copy of Taunting Elf a couple months ago, thinking it might be good for a commander deck, not for a Pauper deck, but thinking it might be interesting at least for a commander deck. Although, let's get into it. Let's tell you about it first. So Taunting Elf is 1 single green mana for a 0/1 elf, and all creatures able to block this creature do so. So, lure effects, effects that force creatures to block a creature, are okay. There's also some provoke abilities, and provoke is another thing that kind of forces blocks out of an opponent in a way that they don't want. You get to kind of choose the way those blocks work. Taunting Elf is pretty cool. That if you put this in a Bogle's deck, you load this thing up with auras. You load it up with an Armadillo Cloak and an Ethereal Armor and Sentinel's Eyes and Spirit Link, and you could put a bunch of stuff on it, and you just keep swinging in, and you force them to block with all of their creatures. If you make this thing real big, you force some really bad blocks by the opponent. And even if you just use like a combat trick, you use a giant growth on this thing, turn this thing into a 3/4, and you attack with it, and they have to block everything. You have to block this with everything they've got. It means all of your other creatures get to go in unscathed. And if you giant growth this thing, you didn't even have to use the giant growth. You could just swing in with this and then have everything else swing in, and they'll all connect, and then this thing just dies. But what you could also do is use a combat trick like a giant growth, and then take out the creature that you want to take out. Like they have a little mana dork or something that they didn't use, or maybe they just played it and it didn't have haste. And then you force them to block this with that, and then you power it up. And sure, it dies to their Tolarian Terror or something there that's going to be able to block this thing all day. But because you get to choose how the damage is dealt, I think this is a cool card. Imagine giving this thing Death Touch. You need to give it some power because it has to assign some damage for Death Touch to actually take effect. But if you could boost this, it's probably a little too cute. It probably is a little too fiddly to work right. But it's cool. It's cool, and I think it could work. I could see this tripping up a lot of decks. I could even see this as like a sideboard card, maybe even in Elves. Like maybe you put this as a sideboard card in Elves that if your opponent has like a go wide strategy and you're trying to go wide with Elves, you play one or two of these. And now they all have to block this, and all your elves can jump in and kill them. I think I'd put this as a 5, a straight up 5. It's weird. I feel like on this series, from my experience so far, we either get the Pauper staples that get like the 8s, 8.5 and up, or you get just a bunch of unplayable garbage that's 3s and below. I don't think you get a whole lot of, hey, this is just a regular solid card. I don't think we've seen a lot of regular solid cards on this series yet. Maybe like Mob Lookout was one of them, but this I think is a solid card. It's probably not a 5. It's probably like a 4.9, 4.8, just to show you that it's not just going to be in the average Pauper deck. Because I 5 is like, hey, this is an average card that would go into a deck. And this isn't that, but it's really close. I would say a card that is like a really solid sideboard piece could be a 5, and I'll still just give this a 4.9, but it's cool. I like it. One of the coolest cards I've seen so far in this series. Final card is a Garrison Sergeant. It's from Guilds of Ravnica. It costs 3 red and a white. That's Boros colors for a 3/3 creature lizard soldier. And it used to be a Viashino, but now it's just a lizard. Sad. But this creature has double strike as long as you control a gate. Ooh. Ooh. Cost too much. Cost too much. But Gates is very strong in Pauper. And just having a thing that naturally gets double strike. If you're building a Gates deck in Pauper, you're gonna have Gates. 3/3 double strike, pretty solid. The problem is this thing has to cost 3. If it's a 2/2 for 3 with the rest of this text, now we're having a good talk. That's going to go in some decks. Boros isn't really. I mean, it can work in Gates for sure. There's no reason it couldn't. But a lot of the Gates decks I've seen are not Boros decks. They at least want to play green in there, so you can play cards that find lands, find those gates for you. I think this could be cool. I could absolutely see this being like a cool top end card for a Gates deck, but still just not at this mana value. It costs way too much. Costs way too much. I'll give it like a 3.4 because I see the potential of it. But this feels like the card that inspires the card that becomes a really good Pauper card. Not a staple exactly, but a really good Pauper contender. And but this card isn't it. It's close. It's getting there, but it's not there yet. All right, folks, that's it. Thanks so much for sticking around with us for Common Knowledge. We'll see you next time. Bye.